So I did have to go out today. One of the things that I needed was a flu shot, especially living in this building, and with my elderly mother. I needed to get the vaccination. So the issue was where to go. I wanted to go somewhere, within walking distance, so I didn't have to take public transportation or ride share. And I do take ride share now, well, before the pandemic, but why risk it, right? I don't want to be enclosed in a small area with someone who could be sick. So there are a few places around here where I could go that do offer the flu vaccine, but the problem is the perpetrators would know that I was going there. So, for example, I could get it at my doctor's office, but that's a little bit too far. I would have to take public transport. But one of the other like store pharmacies that I occasionally, over the years on and off would get a flu shot at, if I had walked in that direction, it's a little bit farther down, and if I had started walking in that direction, they would have known that I was going there for that purpose. And I was afraid they might tamper with the shot, right? Or do something. I don't know. So I wasn't going to go there. There were two other locations, though, that I had to go to. And, one of them, it was for business purposes. So I was headed in that specific direction. And around there's another store pharmacy type combination that I occasionally I would go to get something for my mother, but I had never gone there for my own medical needs. So I figured, my mom did need a few things from there today. So if I had walked the perpetrators would have known that. So if I had started walking in that direction, they would assume that I was going for those items. So I ended up going there, and I got the flu shot there. And I, of course, got what my mother needed. The problem was there were a few issues. And of course, there's not going to be one day without stress. There's not going to be one day without some kind of incident that leads to anxiety and just general trouble. So first of all, a lot of people know that I did go vegan. I went vegan because it was for ethical purposes. I felt like a lab rat. I felt like just a rat in a cage being experimented on, and it just. I made a video about that. I did it for ethical purposes, and I intended to stay vegan, and for the most part, I have. I didn't get rid of all of my old shoes that were made from leather, but from that point on, that when I actually decided to stop using items made with animal products, I did start purchasing vegan items. And for the most part, I've eaten plant-based since then. Occasionally I made a mistake, or I would order, something that I didn't know had, tallow in it, and that was gross. Or, at the store, sometimes if they're out of something, they'll substitute it with something else. So I would order, vegetarian or vegan baked beans, and they would be out of that, so they would substitute it with something with tallow. And then finally I learned to just mark down no substitutes. And occasionally ordering something for my mother, she's not vegan, so I will order her what she wants. But aside from that, I've managed to maintain this until today. So I asked them at the pharmacy, the store pharmacy, do you have the flu shot without eggs in it? And they said no, but the pharmacy down the road does. And it wasn't very far. The problem was, if I had done that, it would have given the perpetrators enough time to get there before I got there and to tamper with things, right? And they could have tampered with things at the pharmacy I was at too, but they would have had much shorter notice because they wouldn't have known that I went there for a flu shot, right? For all they knew, I went there to get what I always got there, which is something that my mother needed, right? Which I got anyway, but this is where it gets difficult because you can't just do what you want to do. You can't just live your life the way that you normally would if you weren't targeted in this manner. I had to get the flu shot. There's no other way, especially living in this building. I had to get it. And I was afraid that if I left, now they know what my intent is. They're going to go wherever I decide to go. They're going to get there first, and they're going to tamper with it. They're going to do something to it. So I got the shot at the store, and now I feel bad because it was the shot with eggs. So now I feel guilty. It's just it's one more struggle where you just can't it's not as simple as just walking down the street, you know, and getting something elsewhere. Anyway, fast forward. I needed two different prepaid cards. And one was a rideshare card, and the other was a prepaid. It was just another prepaid card, credit card. Okay, so I went to the card section, and of course they didn't have the rideshare card, and that's what I needed. And during the pandemic, I'm not going to be taking rideshare often, and I'm certainly not going to take public transportation often. I try to walk, but this is for afterwards, or in case of an emergency, if I really have to go somewhere now, it'll be available, but I try not to. Well, they didn't have it. And they didn't have the prepaid card that I needed either for the other general prepaid card. Great. So I tried to get a third one. And this is something else that I needed as well. So I went up and I tried to pay, and the guy was saying, he asked me if I wanted to, get one of those discount cards for the store. And I said yes. And then he started saying, okay, this will connect to your credit card. And I'm like, wait a minute, the discount cards don't connect to your credit card. He was really, it was kind of a gotcha, like a bait and switch, where I thought it was just one of those typical discount cards, but it was actually something else. So luckily I caught that, and I was paying in cash anyway. So I said no. All right. So I tried to pay for everything, including the prepaid card that I did try to get, which was pretty much, it wasn't quite what I went for, but it's all they had. So I paid for it. It didn't go through. He said, I need the card back. That's a bad card, apparently. I'm thinking, what do you mean you need the card back? The one I just paid for? And he said, yes, the one you just paid for. So I gave it back to him, and, he had given me my change earlier. It's a little weird. I paid for it. He gave me my change back. And then he looked at the receipt, and then he said, I need the card back. It's a bad card. He did that after he looked at the receipt, and which was after he gave me my change back. So I gave him the card back, and I said, well, did you give me the refund? You're giving me the refund receipt, but did you give me the refund money? And he said, yes, I did. But the thing is, he didn't know that it was a bad card, or that it wasn't working, or something was wrong with it, until after he looked at the receipt, which was after he gave me my change back. So I looked at, I'm counting, and I should have counted it before. I had all this. I had cash like stuffed in my pocket. So this is now as a person in my situation, we have to be observant of everything, and we can't allow ourselves to get kind of messy and maybe disorganized, because they can fuck with us that way, and we're not going to know. Right? So then I'm thinking, did he give me the extra cash back? I'm looking and I see a 20 here. Is that what he just gave me? I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And then I said, all right, well, can I just go get another one of these cards, and hopefully the next one will work? And he said, yes. So I went and I got another one, and the same thing happened. This time I gave him the cash, and he said, nope, this one doesn't work either. So he gave me the cash back. So I couldn't get any of the cards I needed there. Right, so I left, and I had this bag of stuff and a lot of hand sanitizer and, the things that my mother needed. And, I had to go to a different store to get it. There was a store on the way back. So I stopped there. As I walked in, the alarm went off. It's a good thing it happened when I walked in and not just when I walked out. Fabulous. Luckily, they did have the cards that I needed there, so I was able to get them there. Anyway, I think the guy at the pharmacy, he was trying to waste my time. I believe the prepaid cards that I had tried to get there probably worked. He just said they didn't. It was to waste my time. It was to cause me more stress, to force me to go to a different store. And if he didn't give me all the change back, to cost me money as well. So that's what happened.